Life emerged in practically a microscopic period of time.
2.8 billion years.
That is nothing.
So, basically, if we indeed belong to the biosphere and are related to those very protocells, then we are only 3 times younger than the universe.
Let's pause for a second and think about what has been said. The main idea in the debate about the origin of life was just expressed. I have often mentioned this idea in conversations with my guests, but we were always sitting in chairs, without chalk or a blackboard, so many did not grasp the depth and scale of the problem. Moreover, there are many people, sometimes even aggressively inclined, who assert that the idea of intelligent design of life is unscientific. They say it belongs to some church-going grandmothers or religious fanatics, and the scientific approach is the natural emergence of living matter. But this approach is already outdated, it is already unscientific. I am ready to demonstrate this with chalk at the blackboard. These positions were relevant in the mid-19th century, when there was no theory of probabilities, no genetics, no cybernetics, no programming, no Big Bang theory. Of course, back then, the thesis that life is complex, but there was an enormous amount of time to conduct an enormous number of experiments, some of which were successful, made sense. That's how, naturally, everything worked out wonderfully, and life emerged. Now let's look at the numbers. By the way, when I was in the army, there was a warrant officer, a sort of humanitarian. Although it was not his intellectual creation, it is a well-known aphorism. He liked to say, "Give a typewriter to a monkey, and in 1 billion years it will type out the novel, War and Peace." Let's start with this, with the monkey and War and Peace, and then we will return to life. The fact is, that from a mathematical point of view, the word that defines life, written in the genome, and War and Peace, are no different. It's a set of letters. In our gene, sequences are written with 4 nitrogenous bases, a quaternary code, 4 letters. In us, the text is 3 billion letters long. In the simplest organism, in the mitochondrion of a cellular organelle, there are 150,000 letters. It doesn't get simpler than that. There is no text shorter than 150,000 letters. Let's look at the example with monkeys. It's a very good example. Even I once thought it was a convincing argument. Billions of years, it sounds fantastic. 1 billion is the limit of the number that most people operate with. What do we know about 1 billion? In a year, we travel 1 billion kilometers around the sun. The length of Earth's orbit is about 1 billion kilometers. 1 billion rubles are under some Moscow official's bed. But beyond that, it doesn't fit in our heads. Sextillions, quadrillions, people don't understand that. Let's write now. So, the task is clear. We have a monkey. It has a typewriter. It's hitting this typewriter, and it has 1 billion years. What is the probability that it will write a novel, a meaningful text with a beginning and an end, the same as what is recorded in our genome, leading to the formation of some protein, and so on? Now we are talking about Leo Tolstoy. So, let's simplify it into tens so that our viewers don't have to use calculators, calculating coefficients. We will round everything to tens in favor of the monkey, in favor of our opponents. Let's simplify the task. The monkey has a keyboard with only 10 keys. And Tolstoy wrote War and Peace, not with the 33 letters of the Russian alphabet, but with 10 letters. I deliberately took the time to look it up. War and Peace is 2.5 million letters. Let's simplify, leave 1 million, less than 1 volume. Without the introduction, the text is 1 million letters. A million is 10 to the sixth power. That is, we need to get a text with a number of letters equal to 10 to the sixth power. We have a monkey. It's hitting the keyboard with 10 keys and it gets some first letter. What is the probability that this letter will match the first letter of Tolstoy's War and Peace? What does science say? It's probably obvious to everyone that the probability is 1/10. 10 letters, and it randomly guessed one. What happens next? When it presses the next letter, the probability that these two letters will match the first two letters of Tolstoy's work is the product of the probabilities of these two independent events. These two events are independent. It's just hitting the keys. 1/10 multiplied by 1/10 will be 100th. If there were 33 letters, it would be 1 in 1,000. But, I repeat once again, we made a simplification in favor of the monkeys. If it presses a third time, what is the probability that the first 3 letters it presses will match the first 3 letters of War and Peace? 100th multiplied by 1/10 will be 1 in 1,000. The idea is clear. The general formula is this. 1 divided by 10 to the power of n. That is, whatever sequence we need to get, we need to divide 1 by 10 to that power. In our case, we need to get a text 10 to the millionth power. This is not 1 in a million. This is 1 divided by 10 to the millionth power. I think many are already confused. It's already difficult. What is 10 to the millionth? Well, just for your general understanding, how many grains of sand are there on all the beaches in the world, in all the deserts of the world, at the bottom of all the oceans, in the Gobi, in Nebraska, in the Sahara, in some desert like the Karakum, the Kizilkum? All the grains of sand on Earth are 10 to the 20th power. This is just for comparison. Let's continue. Naturally, to achieve such a result, we need a number of trials comparable to this magnitude. At the very least, the order should be somewhere close, so that the probability of getting the desired result is not necessarily 1, but at least something reasonable, something you could point to and say, well, yes, it's possible. So, we need to perform 10 to the millionth power of trials. And now for the most interesting part. Let's see if our monkey has enough time. What is a billion years? Forget about a billion years. Let's simplify the problem. Let's assume the monkey doesn't type for a billion years but since the beginning of the universe. Today, it's believed that the universe is 10 billion years old. That's the age of the universe. 15 billion. Sorry, a billion is 10 to the power of 9. 15 billion, give or take, 14.5 billion. At such scales, it doesn't matter. All these coefficients, 1.5, 2, 3, don't matter at all. You'll see why. What is 15 billion years? It's 10 to the power of 17 seconds. So, the age of the universe, 15 billion years, is 10 to the power of 17 seconds. Let's assume our monkey types at a speed of 1,000 keystrokes per second. That's 10 times faster than the fastest machine gun. Add 3 zeros to this, and you'll get 10 to the power of 20 keystrokes. The monkey will make 10 to the power of 20 keystrokes in the entire lifespan of the universe, from the moment of the Big Bang. Let's not have just one monkey, but a billion monkeys. No, let's not do this gradually. Let's have as many monkeys as there are elementary particles in the entire universe. Not even atoms, but elementary particles. According to modern scientific understanding, the number of elementary particles in the universe is 10 to the power of 80. Imagine, there are as many monkeys in the universe as there are elementary particles. Throughout the entire lifespan of the universe, they type on keyboards at a speed of 1,000 keystrokes per second. And we barely reach 10 to the power of 100 keystrokes. What else can we assume? Let's say they type every nanosecond, not 1,000 times per second, but 1 billion times per second. We'll add a bit more, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. We still won't get far from that 10 to the power of 100. No matter what we do, no matter how we stretch it. And we need 10 to the power of 1 million. Think about what this means. This is the difference between intelligent design and random occurrence. As far as I remember, Leo Tolstoy sat down and wrote War and Peace, a text of 2 million letters, in 6 years. In terms of the universe's lifespan, that's just a blink of an eye. He just upped and wrote it. But if all the atoms in the world, all the particles in the world tried to write the same text randomly over the entire lifespan of the universe, they wouldn't even write one line of War and Peace. And only today, when we have an understanding of programming, text complexity, and probability theory, do we realize how absurd the assertion of the random emergence of life is? There was an American astrophysicist named Fred Hoyle, one of the authors of the Big Bang Theory, a globally recognized official scientist, not some religious preacher. This is exactly what he meant when he said that a tornado sweeping through a junkyard would be more likely to assemble a fully serviced and fueled new Boeing than for life to arise naturally. That's exactly what he asserted. We just talked about the novel War and Peace. And War and Peace is still 3 orders of magnitude simpler than our genome, even if we take the simplest genome that exists, which probably can't be any simpler. As a programmer, I can assert, and most programmers would agree, that a complex program cannot be written with just 3 characters. The complexity of a program is related to the number of characters. Life is complex. To describe it, we probably need no fewer than 150,000 nitrogenous bases, 150,000 letters, which are found in the mitochondrial genome. For example, the simplest thing we can see from a cybernetics perspective. And this doesn't compare to the temporal possibilities that life had. 1 billion years is just a blink of an eye, a blip, it's nothing. The conclusion is this: the scientific approach, based on the latest achievements in astrophysics, genetics, and mathematics, is that life was created intelligently, or we need to change the paradigm. This doesn't mean that our opponents are wrong, but their approach is not scientific. In terms of their scientific tools, they are still in the mid-19th century. Either we need to change the paradigm and adopt the concept of an infinite universe and infinite time, which is not currently the prevailing theory. In infinite time, with a probability of 1, anything can happen. Life can arise, someone can create new life, life can arise in reverse, inside out, upside down, and so on. But today it is believed that the universe had a beginning and will have an end. Time is finite, and space is finite. By the way, in the concept of infinite time, we appear with a probability of 1, but with a probability of 0 we appear in the first phase of this feast of life. Therefore, the concept of our opponents cannot withstand any scientific criticism. That's essentially what I wanted to highlight for those who may have heard of this but didn't have the numbers. Therefore, the current scientific approach is that the random emergence of life is impossible.